A very good evening, everyone. I, Nikita Singh, on behalf of BCIPS, welcome you all to the third day of 1 week faculty development program on impactful academic writing, a qualitative approach. The topic for today's session is SLR, that is, Systematic Literature Review. SLR identifies, selects, and critically appraises research in order to answer a clearly formulated question. The systematic review should follow a clearly defined protocol or plan where the criteria is clearly stated before the review is conducted. It is a comprehensive, transparent search conducted over multiple databases and grey literature that can be replicated and reproduced by other researchers. It involves planning a well thought out strategy which has a specific focus or answers a defined question. For enlightening us on this important topic, today we have with us our honored resource person, Dr. RPS Kaurav. Sir is working as an associate professor with the Fortune Institute of International Business, where he is responsible for teaching, training, research, consultancy, and accreditation. He is a professionally acquired trainer for qualitative and quantitative research software. He has published 40 research papers in national and international journals of repute and more than 20 research papers in conference proceedings. He has also done contractual assignments with the online program of the University of Liverpool, USA, as a DBA thesis supervisor. He is also associated with BITS Pilani as an adjunct faculty. We welcome you, sir. I would now request Dr. RPS Kaurav, sir, to take over this session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Nikita. Thank you, organizing team, to extending the opportunity for me to interact with the young blood of the research ecosystem. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Before starting the session, I do not want to make it a lecture like boring lecture, one-way communication. I would like to make it an interactive session. And before starting the systematic literature review or any discussion out of that, I just wanted to understand, what do you understand by term, or have you heard this systematic literature review earlier? In which sense? How did you find it? Anything, whatever you know about systematic literature review, just help me in understand. Anyone can unmute yourself and can speak, or maybe you can use chat box. If you find the Google Meets does not have good camera features, you can use chat box as well. Yes, Ruchi?
Sir, as per my understanding, systematic literature review is the overview of all the literature related to a particular topic. Maybe over the stated period that the author is able to focus in that particular paper.
Okay. So for your understanding, it is an overview of whatever literature is available, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other opinion? My handwriting is really bad. Please feel free to communicate. Somebody has raised the hand. I missed that hand. Ritika has typed, reviewing, reading, and understanding the past research papers on same or related topics in our research domain. Okay, so again, this is about literature which is available. Very true. Literature and mostly past. Okay, this is the next opinion.
So one more thing, that the word systematic is used, that we are going to have a chronological order of the literature. So it's that is why it is called systematic literature review.
So you are saying chronological, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, someone else has raised the hand. I think Rachna has raised the hand.
Right, sir. Thank you. Good evening.
Please, good evening.
Sir, I think it's a little different than literature review because we are trying to put whatever we are reading into a framework. We are trying to bring out an outline so that we can take out some inferences, what is already available from that literature.
Right. So you are saying this is based on framework. Very good.
And
then
we are trying to bring out some inferences from the literature.
we are also trying to bring some inferences based on this. Okay. Next hand was by Rupa.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening. So as far as my understanding, the systematic review is a planned review on any particular topic where actually we wanted to like specifically investigate that focus on specific question. That is what
Planned
to
review,
assess.
specific research question, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Varudini.
Good evening, sir. So systematic literature review is not just reading all the papers, but critically appraising like what we cannot read the entire paper. So critically, we have to read those papers and then summarize like what we require accordingly.
Critical analysis or critical reviewing that paper, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other opinion on this? Dania is saying SLR is an arrangement of literature in a manner like year-wise or topic-wise. Somebody has already said about chronological order. Classification of the literature, yes. This is important. I will make a note on classification. And then capturing what has been done. What is to be done is not available in the literature. What has been done is definitely available. And finding trends and hotspot of the topic. Very good. Finding trends and hotspot. I'll make a note on trends and hotspot. For me, your hotspot is basically a thematic analysis. Identifying different themes is considered as systematic literature review. So this is what my audience knows about. Very good. Apply quality assessment. Yes, that's also important. Applying quality assessment. I'll just add this to the discussion. Quality assessment. Any other opinion on this? Zamed is saying systematic, explicit, reproducible method for identifying, evaluating, and synthesizing that the existing body of completed record work produced by the researchers, scholars, and practitioners. Very good. So I've already given a full definition of systematic literature review. Impressive. Gopal is saying, and also apply exclusion and inclusion methods. Yes, and exclusion and inclusion methods are part of the quality assessment of the different papers. Okay, just for a minute, let us let us forget about systematic literature review. Let us start from, let me post a question. Those who are from India will be able to recall a movie, Student of the Year. This has been made in two parts. But my question is, how do we define a good student? Who is a good student? What is the criteria? Please.
So we can define a good student in terms of their behavior as well as their academic records.
Behavior as well as in academic records. Okay. Next question is, who is a good student? So the first comment I have already received is about behavior and academic records. What else?
one more thing could be added to it, like a student who is coming to the class with preparation for the topic can also be considered as a good student.
Prepared for the topic. Okay. Next one, please.
Sir, a student who is always curious, sir, in learning new things or inquiring.
Okay, curious.
Sir, something related to sincerity and the regularity and obligation. हाँ, uh, they are obliging or they are the following the instruction.
Regularity and must follow the instructions, right?
Yeah, sir.
Don't worry, whatever notes we are making during the workshop, during the session, I'll send this, export this as a PDF and we'll forward it to you. So you need not to worry. Okay, what is next?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, obedient.
Obedient. Yes. Asma.
Good evening, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, a student is someone who has research thinking and research understanding, who is always trying to find out new and create something new.
Research thinking and inquisitive.
Yes, sir.
Right? So what is next? I cannot see towards the chat box or who is raising the hand, because if I try to see that, I'll lose this momentum. So please unmute yourself, and whatever you are typing into the chat box, unmute yourself and speak it here. Any further opinion on this? Or if somebody can read the chat box for me,
Sure, sir.
please.
Sir, as per Dania Siddiqui, the good student is attentive and active in all activities. As per-
Attentive and active.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
According to Ruta Mehta, the good student is again attentive and have hunger to know more, sir.
Inquisitive or curiosity have
Yes,
already been
yes,
covered.
sir. And according to Ms. Rupa Sinha, again, a good student is attentive, disciplined, curious, obedient.
I think we have covered all these: attentive, curious, disciplined.
And Ms. Nidhi Jaiswal, as per Ms. Nidhi Jaiswal, that a good student should be a brainstormer. Sir.
Brainstorming.
Yes.
Okay.
I would request Ms. Vishwanathan to please come up with his viewpoint.
The student who has more creativity and
Creativity. Very good.
analytical knowledge.
Now, what is next after creativity?
Application, sir. Application only.
Application orientation. Very good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
As per Meena Chaudhary, sir, a good student should be a critical thinker, sir.
Critical thinking. Okay. However, I personally believe critical thinking is a thing which a teacher can develop within the student. The student does not have critical thinking. But that's my personal opinion. Yes. Come on, these are the notes for your lifetime. Don't worry. Right. Okay. Let me comprehend these two discussions with the perspective of literature review. What is needed or what has to be discussed? I believe all of you were very much correct, very much apt, except a very few things. Overview is, yes, definitely correct. Literature of the past and will definitely merge under overview. Chronological, I would disagree to this. However, up to some extent, chronological is correct. Up to some extent, but not always. Yes, it always includes some framework, some inferences for the future, for sure. And if you are using a framework, chronology will definitely include to this section. This is a planned behavior. This is a planned review for research questions, planned discussions, planned reading on the research questions is 100% correct. I would give it a 5-star rating. Literature review is always critical, which most of us does always forget. How research scholars, including me, when I was writing my PhD thesis, I'm not criticizing this whole ecosystem is not doing good, but when I was writing my PhD thesis, when I was writing my papers, the papers which I was written into the starting of my career, into the early career, most of them does not have critical assessment of the different researches. Sharma has defined internal marketing is like this, Kaurav has defined like this, Chaudhary has utilized this, or maybe argument or something like that, but no criticism of the definition of Sharma, no personal opinion, no personal comment, no support, no inferences was used by me. And that is why after about 5 years of a struggle, I can comprehend, I can say critical assessment of review is really, really very important. If you're simply defining Sharma has said this, Rahul has said this, Chaudhary has said this, someone has said this, someone has said that, actually you are not needed there. Just to look at who has said what, Wikipedia is already there. You being a research scholar, you being a researcher, you being a academician is not required for writing simple definition, collection of definition by other researchers. So you must bring in some argumentative things. Say, for example, you can say, you can suggest, Sharma has defined internal marketing using these 3 variables. Kaurav has defined internal marketing using these 3 plus 1 more variable. Chaudhary has defined internal marketing using these 4. He has, out of these 4, he has removed 1 and added 2 more. The next one, now how many variables we have? 4 minus 1 is 3 and 2. 5 variables we have. So someone has defined these 5 variables minus 2. Then this is what is a final outcome of these 3 variables have been suggested by all the researchers, which is completely missing out of the whole ecosystem. Critical assessment of literature is really very important. Classification is yes, but again, limited up to some extent. Trends and hotspots, identifying theme is very much correct. Quality assessment is very much correct. I would completely go with that. Chronology, I would also say chronology is also correct, but again, limited to some extent, not always. What is the challenge with the chronology? Because while I was writing my PhD thesis, I found this. Someone has suggested me, why not you write it into the chronological order? Why not you write it into a specific sequence? The challenge is somebody, you started defining internal marketing in 2001, 2002, 2003, then you cannot go back and can identify criticism in 2002. Otherwise, other researchers will struggle in understanding. You have, somebody has already defined, given a definition in 2003, and you are saying this has been criticized in 2002 will be a challenge for you. You won't be able to defend that situation. That is why chronology is not preferred. I'm not saying is not used. I faced this challenge into the real life. I have defined, I have given a definition into a PhD thesis, and reviewer have asked me, you have given a thesis, you have given a definition in 2015. Sorry, you've given a definition, or somebody has given a definition in 2010, and because I was following the chronology, the challenge was somebody has criticized this definition in 2008. How is that possible? So chronology might incur some different kind of inferences, some different kind of challenges for you. And sometimes you won't be able to comprehend, sometimes you won't be able to respond properly because you are already facing, already defending your PhD viva, or you're already defending your research paper, and you'll think either this reviewer doesn't know anything, or if you are following different kind of human behavior theory, you will feel either I doesn't know anything. And so I always suggest chronology, do not follow chronology. If you are following chronology, this will create different kind of challenges for you. You won't be able to defend that. Now let me come to the second question. Who is a good student? Whatever qualities, whatever or somebody by mistake has unmuted.
So continue, sir, please.
Yeah. Whatever characteristics you were able to identify who is a good student, whatever characteristics you were able to identify, actually these are the things which a literature review must offer. Behavior and academic record. And that is why most of the researchers or most of the supervisors ask you to use good A category paper or good cited paper or properly used paper. Do not use a paper which has been published in 2005 and was able to attract, after about 15 years, was able to attract only 15 citations. Do not use that. Right? These papers must have been connected with your paper or your discipline or something which is related to your area. Otherwise, do not do that. Your literature review must be curious, must be satisfying the requirement of other researchers. If it is not, probably you are not suitable there. I'll be discussing few more characteristics, what is needed into the literature review as a good student. And this is very much similar to everything, whatever we will be discussing today. But before that, I want to spend about 10 minutes how a paper of systematic literature review looks like. I trust all of you have seen some papers on systematic literature review. My screen is visible. I'm sharing a paper which is having a screen. The title of the paper is Artificial Intelligence.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yeah. So how a paper of systematic literature review looks like. The authors have started defining artificial intelligence in supply chain management. And the search protocol, they have identified which was the key term which has been utilized to export those research paper. And this is nowadays a challenge with everyone. So when using Science Direct, this was the key term under title, abstract, and a Scopus. This, what is title, abstract, in keywords, or what is title, different, these headings, article, part searched, we'll discuss tomorrow in the session when we'll be talking about bibliometric analysis. But first, let us understand what they have done to write a research paper. And the whole thing, everything, whatever they have done to complete these identifying research papers, they have defined in form of a chart. And this paper belongs to these many themes: marketing, logistics, supply chain, production, then Science Direct, different platforms, different publishers, different ways how they have searched, and what are the types of paper which are available there. So if this is about artificial intelligence and supply chain management, you'll find 16 papers were identified from Science Direct. Out of that, 10 has been used or Emerald Insight or Jester or different platforms or different. Diagram is very clearly indicating. This diagram is very clearly indicating that most of the papers given me a theme, classification. Not sure who has given me this theme, classification. Please do understand why I am calling it, why I am recalling it classification here. Because what I have done, what the author have done here, summary and categories of the different literature, classification, then subclassification, then different themes, then different studies. So these were the studies which were related to marketing. These were the studies which were related to logistics, production, supply chain, different types of journal, different type of article, different type of keywords, with whatever has been used. Then you can see the next level is about categorization of artificial intelligence techniques. So what are the different techniques which has been used by researchers when they talk about marketing papers? So for marketing papers, they have used artificial neural network, genetic algorithms, SWAN intelligence, general form of analysis, K-mean clustering, hill climbing, and all these stuff. Different forms of artificial intelligence. In a way, at first instance, when first time you'll be reading this paper, you'll find this is only descriptive of themes. This is only descriptive of paper. But the challenge is, when we start our journey as a research scholar, we are not aware about how many papers were available, which are the top journals which publishes your theme, which are the top keywords which are related, which are associated with your theme. And these are the type of papers, which helps you, which gives you popularity among the academia, for sure. Because for young research scholars, this is really very critical. This is really very difficult For young research scholar, this is really, it is difficult to which paper they need to read. So what a paper which is based on SLR can do for you? Why you should write an SLR paper? One, for academic popularity. Second, to claim your expertise in your area. My screen is visible, I believe.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Claim your expertise in your area because you have written a paper based on systematic literature review. You have already gone through 200 paper, 50 paper, or 300 papers. Now you can claim I'm an expert of artificial intelligence and supply chain management because you have already done, you have already proven your track record. The next thing is you will be able to attract more citation because young scholars was able to read your paper only. Other papers, those who have started their journey, other papers were using CFA, EFA, structural equation modeling and all that very difficult words, and the young scholars were not able to comprehend them. If they have gone through your paper, probably they will be able to, there are likely to be more chances that you will be able to attract more citations towards your paper. And next one is, you can claim your authority as well. Whenever somebody is doing a paper on artificial intelligence and supply chain management, supply chain logistics, they'll think, okay, there is a paper which has been written by these authors, just look at that. So these are the specific reasons why I recommend everyone, if you are a young scholar and if you have started your PhD thesis, I would always recommend to write a paper on using systematic literature review. First paper using systematic literature review, then second paper using bibliometric analysis, because then you will know who your area, whosoever is expert, whosoever is not expert, whosoever only claiming the expertise does not have this, you will come to know about everything. Who are the top authors, who are the top editors, who are the top journals, you'll come to know everything. Who is publishing your area, who can be asked for a collaboration, everything. That makes it easy. Let me show you the second paper as well. This is a tutorial. I'll suggest you this paper to read a bit later. Yes. A gradual internationalization versus born global internationalization. Internationals. A new venture model, a review and research agenda. What could have been done? I found this paper is really interesting. Findings of the paper suggest that there are several areas that were underexplored in this prior research. So say, for example, if I'm a new or very young scholar and I'm continuously chasing my guide, continuously chasing my supervisor, or even I'm an established researcher, I'm not chasing anyone, but I'm still exploring some new areas or some new sub-themes to start my new research. This paper has already suggested internationalization of different virtuals or different platforms. What are those underexplored area? There is a great potential of theoretical extension and theory development in this field, as it covers the tenets of the 4 subjects: IB, marketing, strategic management, and entrepreneurship. Now I'll get a very clear idea what to be done just after reading this paper, not after reading the abstract only. Why I love this paper, they have proposed a very good framework, and you will come to know, like, did I miss that table? No. The article in this review from the different journals says irrespective, bibliometric can also help me. Now look at the number of papers which has been published on the specific theme using regression analysis. Number of paper which has been published using this theme, on the theme of this paper, is survey methods, case analysis, mixed method, cluster analysis. Okay, for a young scholar, that is pretty much decent understanding. So these are the authors. Say, for example, my supervisor or I myself is thinking to use regression analysis to my paper. These are the papers which could help me by any chance. I'm not looking for cluster analysis. I'm not worried about this cluster. I'm not worried about this segment. I'm not thinking of using mixed method. I need not to look at these papers. But I'm thinking of using regression and survey. I'll be happy that I've received a summary of the papers, summary of the sources where these papers have been started. Who has written these papers? I'll get a complete idea. I'll get, say, for example, the latest paper in this list you can see of 2018 or so at least up to 2018, I'm having a 100%. I'm sorry. At least up to 2018, I'm having a clear list. The papers which I have to read up on this particular area, on this specific genre. Then look at this. Dependent variable, ratio of foreign, scale to total sales, ROA, form age, form size. Which type of variables have been used? So say, for example, I'm interested in these two variables. I'm interested in these two variables, firm size, total employees, administrative investment. Only these 4-5 variables. I will get a very clear list. Only these are the papers which I need to look at. Others papers can be directly ignored. Otherwise, it is very difficult to read 300 papers and then define, then understand. These are the papers which I have to read. It's really very challenging. Then a summary format, the purpose, method, and findings of the different authors, the papers which has been used, and another very impressive table out of this is gradual internationalization and born global. Definition by different author. In which type of industries these studies, these research papers have been done. Forms. Which type of forms these studies have been done. And after reading this paper, now I can claim I'm aware about all the literature which is available on this particular specific theme, which is available on this specific genre. Now my expertise, for being an expert, I need not to be worried, because I know where this literature is available, and this is the most important task of a research scholar. Why I'm calling it a most important task? Because until and unless you do not know who are the prominent authors, what was their definition, until and unless your regular routine life discussion have started quoting, until and unless you have started quoting something, you cannot be an expert, right? At your early stage. At the later stage, when you have proven your expertise, people will start quoting your thoughts, people will start quoting your papers. But at the present stage, you will have to use a lots of quotes for justifying whatever you are saying is correct. Rahul does not have any authority into the academia, and that is why most of the papers, most of the good publishers does not include my degree and designation to the publications. You'll find most of the places they remove doctor, professor, or anything out of your name, because everyone does have the equal authority. No one is higher. If one is professor or one is research scholar, that doesn't mean scholar does have lesser knowledge than professor. This is the only platform, research publication, where research scholar is also written. Research scholar is already not a doctor, but professor is also written as the same way. Right? Enjoy that freedom of the academia. Enjoy that freedom of the academia, and I trust this will help everyone. So these are the basic structure of systematic literature review, which I wanted to show you before moving to the discussion. However, nowadays there is a long debate. Probably in last 2 days, Atul and other resource persons have given you a good idea about methodology, research tools, research techniques, and everything. But I trust for publishing, what do you need? For publishing a research paper, what do you need? Come on, you need to be vocal here. Is that cat is visible to everyone? . What do you need to get publications? It's simply dare and confidence. Nothing more than that. These people in the line are the reviewers, editors, or into the different capacities. They'll ask you to justify this, they'll ask you to justify that, they'll ask you to justify a lot of other things. But trust me, if you have that confidence to justify everything, whatever you are doing, if you are having that confidence, if you are having that dare to respond them back, trust me, they will respond you back into a favorable manner. Do not correlate confidence with the overconfidence. Do not respond like anything. Right? Right. So we'll start in detail systematic literature review, but these are some study material sources. You can click a screenshot here. I will also share my slides with all of you, so you need not to worry. But these are some literature review. These are some material which could have been used for drafting your literature. I personally love this book, Diana Ridley. Why I personally love this book? Because this book is very neat and clean and gives you very clear cut idea. However, there are multiple n number of books are available on writing literature review, but they'll give you only conceptual clarity. This book is having some practical clarity as well. You can use this book before writing your systematic literature review. If you are a young scholar, if you are simply, you have just started your research journey, before starting your second chapter on literature review, this book is must for you. There are a few other papers. One is critically reviewing literature, a tutorial for new researcher. If you can recall, one of you have given this idea, critically reviewing. This one is an experimental paper, literature review based, workplace resources to improve both employees' well-being and performance, a systematic review and meta-analysis both. And this one is a Indian professor, Professor Justin Paul, settled in US well. The art of writing literature review. What do we know and what do we need to know? It's a very impressive paper again. Have you clicked a screenshot here? Shall I move ahead?
Yes, sir.
Systematic literature review always starts from somebody has identified into the first instance, even there is something which is about quality measures. Let me tell you one thing. Let me give you one example. While I was in class 6, I have been told there are 4 pillars of science. And one of the very important pillar of the science was named as, someone of you have already suggested that, reproducibility. Reproducibility is very important science, is a very important pillar of the science. Though we are into the social sciences, they are not the exact life sciences, but yes, we are still talking about science. Reproducibility is really very important. What will happen if a study is done by Rahul is producing different result and the same study is being done by some other scholars into the same NCR region is offering the different result? How to handle that situation? And that is why in statistics, we suggest 95% confidence, 99% confidence. I believe if you can recall, this confidence is nothing. Simply, when you say 99% confidence, you say, if you repeat this experiment for about 100 times, 99% times the results will remain same as of this study. This is called as 99% confidence, nothing more than that. And how do I come to calculate that 99% based on the statistics procedural? That's okay. The similar systematic literature review is also a science. How can we forget that? Okay, I have to remove this because this is not, I've not used Sideboard for that. So how do we produce in systematic literature review? Your search term should be very much clear. If you are searching Google Scholar, Routledge, Emerald, Chester, EBSCO, and all these platforms, you will get multiple papers, and you need a good team to screen in these papers, because when you get 300 papers, trust me, you won't be able to screen 300 papers in 1 month. A very impressive, a very imperative team is needed to screen in those 300 papers, screen in those, removing those redundant paper, repetitive paper, or maybe some papers are not related to your literature review even. You are trying to write a paper on customer experiences in tourism and hospitality segment, and the challenge is the paper is about the customer experience but not tourism and hospitality. The paper is about tourism and hospitality but not customer experience. And trust me, this plays a very important role. How do we define these things? How do we define these things? And for that purpose, for this purpose, we need a team. If you are working in a team, screening in 300 papers in one go, or maybe 3-4 meetings will be sufficient, not more than that. And the same is done because we are not doing simply fishing here. I have found a good number of papers, not good number, a very few number of papers, which suggest they have done all the search on Google Scholar. The challenge with the Google Scholar is not at all reliable. When I'm saying not at all reliable means you can use the same key terms on 2 different systems, you will find different results. Why is so? Because one system is being used by expert, for example, like me, will suggest me papers based on my preferences, based on my choices, however, whatever type of papers which I was searching in last 1 month. And if you are using first time Google Scholar, that Google Scholar will suggest you different type of papers on that. It's not at all reliable. Do not trust on Google Scholar before writing a literature review. And that is why the sources which we recommend for writing a literature review is, one, a good publisher. Second, indexing agencies. What are these indexing agencies? One could be Scopus, second could be Web of Science, third could be Jester. Jester is not an indexing agency but is having a good list, or any other type of different platforms. If you are into the medicine sciences, probably Madster or different other type of platforms will be more suitable for your reference. Is there a question or somebody has raised the hand? Vikas, please.
Yeah, yes, sir. Actually, sir, I want to know what is the relevance of ICI?
What is the elements of
ICI?
Citation Index?
Yes, sir. Is it good or we should refer or not?
I have to follow the instructions by the top authority. I cannot criticize it, but probably my face expression are sufficient.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. ICI or UGC care and all this, I don't find them as not at all relevant, specific. They are purposeless list. Some office clerks who does not have understanding of even research are maintaining that.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
So these are some good sources which you can use for writing. You can use for extracting your material which is relevant to your specificity, because in systematic literature review generally used into the very, very specific manner. So this is a paper some scholar or some very senior researcher was trying to write a paper onto the agricultural development. So systematic literature review, systematic review conducted onto the agricultural sciences. So there are 5-6 stages. How do we identify these papers? First is a scoping, simply Google search or publisher-based search or indexing agencies-based search. Then you can plan this stage. Review protocol defined at this first stage. We'll talk about review protocol in very, very deep detail, so don't worry for that. ISI, Web of Science based strategy, which type of strategies you will be using, what type of database you will be using, how do we identify these paper. Then ideation and search process, they were able to, this author of this paper were able to identify 478 papers, and they have added 2 papers which are manually. Is there a question? Somebody has raised the hand?
Yes, sir. Vikas again, sir,
Yeah,
from
please.
BCIPS only.
Yeah.
Actually, sir, I want to know that we write the research paper, but how much we are able to connect with the relevancy of the actual market? Because one of my friend, I don't know, sir, you have heard about or not, that is, they developed the ONO app, ONO, that is related to the agriculture only, but they are struggling. They are not actually making the profit. So, our paper, research paper, how we can say that is relevant to the actual market or not? Because actual market is something different.
If you are writing a paper to earn profit, you are into the wrong business. First. Second, we are not into the engineering field or some up to the little extent to the actual sciences field. Industry is not looking towards us. We are looking towards industry. Say, for example, let me talk about digital marketing. I believe most of the institute that teach a subject on the digital marketing, trust me, if you are defining a syllabus of digital marketing in July 22 and you are starting teaching it August 22, about 50% syllabus has gone irrelevant. Industry is far behind, like we are far behind from the industry because we are into the social sciences. Social sciences, what is actual use of social sciences in this manner? The use of social sciences is just establishing a theory, validating the theory, and then saying, yes, this is what his industry is doing, which is perfectly good. Why Amartya Sen has got a good popularity into the earlier days? Because those were the time when nobody was talking about those type of concepts. Otherwise, Amartya Sen has got a Nobel laureate now, but otherwise, good number of Indian scholars have done the similar work. So marketing your work is also very important. How you can market your work, how you can promote your work, and that is why nowadays good number of researchers are promoting their papers on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and all these platforms have written a paper on this theme. If you are using the similar strategy, if you are facing the similar problem, you can look at our paper. Otherwise, into the sciences, allow me one more minute. Otherwise, into the sciences, yesterday I was thinking on, okay, how can we use the water which has been extracted from the vent of AC? So I've just searched on Google what the different usage or different application of the water which has been extracted from the AC. And trust me, I got 4 or 5 papers into the first search. Right? So how you can market your paper, how you can market your research is really important in that sense.
So our syllabus is not appropriate to the market actually,
Yes.
if we say.
Yes. If you are advanced up to that extent.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Very popular meme. The type of research we nowadays are producing. Just think for a minute, what could have been happened? The researchers like me, you, and all of us have have explored the vaccine of COVID. Do you think people will be coming forward? And that's a reality. And I don't have any, I don't think I'm doing anything bad.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Then they have a screen in article that I was talking about, screening of the article, quality assessment, whether this paper belongs to the A category or whether this paper were indexed by Scopus or whether this paper were written into the English language, and any other criteria could have been implemented here. And they were able to screen in about 86 paper, excluded 389, duplicate were 3. Final eligibility out of these papers, out of these 86 paper, eligibility assessment, whether they are quantitative paper or qualitative paper or any specific genre or any specific theme of the paper. If they, how many of them falls into the eligibility? 27, and again 2 have been added as an manually one. The final papers which has been used, 27 plus 2 is 29 papers have been used. Included into the sample was 18 paper. Eligible paper of was 29 and final paper were 18, which has been used into the whole analysis. So this is how is a basic structure of writing literature review, writing systematic literature review. I trust multiple of you have gone confused what we are talking about. Allow me 5-10 more minutes and I'm sure you'll come to know what we are discussing. A systematic literature review is definitely, all of you have defined very clearly, is a summary of subject field, that supports the identification of specific research questions. So identifying your SLR, if not leading to the research question, it is wastage of time. Trust me, it is, you are wasting your time, you are wasting others' time as well. You must have a research question. If you are writing a paper using quantitative approach, using qualitative approach, using mixed method, your paper must have objectives. But if you are writing a paper on bibliometric analysis, on systematic literature review, or maybe on meta-analysis as well, your paper must have research question, else prepositions. This is what is our belief. This is what is an assumption. If your paper is written on SLR and you are still saying we are having objectives of this paper, editor or reviewer will reject it outrightly, because they know you are not able to know, or you are not able to understand even the basics of writing an SLR, because SLR does never have an objective. SLR does have a research question, and this research question need to be responded. A systematic review always answer a predefined research question, again predefined research question, by collecting, summarizing evidences, like someone has posted into the chat box, that fits into a pre-specified eligibility criteria. And many of us believe that systematic literature review are of qualitative nature. They can be of quantitative nature as well. Systematic literature review does never, you cannot say necessarily of qualitative nature. They can be of quantitative nature as well, need not to be necessarily qualitative. What is a systematic literature review? Again, systematic literature review is simply compilation of the previous studies, the compilation of earlier studies, a document that provides an unbiased and comprehensive synthesis of relevant studies. When I say unbiased, somebody has mistakenly unmuted, or you are trying to ask something? I can hear some voice.
So Ms. Varudhini has raised her hand, sir.
Okay, please ask your question, Varudhini.
Sir, can we include objectives in the this PhD review of this thing, sir?
In PhD, this is necessary. This is what is in, like, you have started your PhD thesis with the objective itself. In a PhD thesis, systematic literature review is a part of that research. But if it is a paper of systematic literature review, that systematic review is not part of that whole research.
But generally, sir, in the universities, what happens is we mention the objectives as well as the research questions. I always get confused the difference between the objectives and research questions.
Allow me a minute. And research objectives sometimes may lead to research questions. Research questions sometimes may lead to research objectives. But vis-a-vis is not possible. Vis-a-vis is not possible. Research objectives may satisfy the, say for example, you have started a paper with the objective to understand the basic structure of the science. Now the research question is, who are the top authors on that particular specific science? When your research question is, you are trying to understand, you are trying to interpret what are the different themes that might lead to research objectives, but vis-a-vis is not possible. Why it is not possible? If it is a PhD thesis, then definitely PhD thesis, allow me a minute, then definitely a PhD thesis will have research, doing something wrong. When you are doing a PhD thesis, research objectives will come first. Research objectives may have different type of strategies to solve. So if, say for example, you are having 4 objectives, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, objective 1 may have 2 different RQs. Objective 2 may have only 1 prepositions, not RQ, not RO, because you have started with some assumption. Objective 3 again may have 2 RQs. Are you getting it? And this is a simple objective which is being solved with the help of empirical hunch. Getting it?
Yes, sir. Generally, the objectives are in the statement form. That is what we are taught, sir. And the objectives in the interrogative form are the research questions.
For understanding this, if this is a statement or this is an question mark form, you need not to enter into the PhD.
Yes, sir.
Objective is always, everyone knows objective will definitely start with 2. To identify, to explore, to evaluate.
Yes, sir.
And when I'm saying research question, will always have this exclamatory mark, this question mark towards the end.
Yes, sir.
Understanding this, you need not to enroll to the PhD.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Please do not mind any of my statement. My objective is to discuss these things on the very lighter note. Right. So your systematic review is always starts from the unbiased. I may ask my research scholars, say for example, somebody is doing PhD under my guidance, I may ask them, why don't you cite my paper? Why not you write a review and use my paper? But the challenge is my paper is not cited, it was not able to attract 100 citations. And whereas the scholars' basic assumption, the basic thing was, any paper which is having at least 100 citations, he cannot use my paper. He cannot include his bias, and even I cannot force him to do that. That is why systematic literature reviews are always unbiased, comprehensive synthesis of relevant studies and research. Now, I believe all of you will be able to comprehend, will be able to interpret everything, whatever you have discussed in the beginning. Am I correct or not? Pooling multiple studies with the same or very similar Pico question, different type of questions. Pico can be interpreted as population, intervention, comparison, and outcome. Am I doing something for a specific population? Was there any intervention? Most of the medical sciences study used Pico. We use Prisma. I'll discuss about Prisma as well. Intervention is about the type of medicine used to resolve this problem. Comparison of 2 different studies, comparison of 2 different people, comparison of 2 or more than any number of this. And what is the outcome of these studies? Whatever resolution, whatever solution, whatever medicine, whatever decision you have made, whether the outcome was similar or outcome was different. And this is why systematic review, also called as research synthesis, good number of research papers which is using systematic literature review, good number of research papers which are using systematic literature review does have this synthesis word in their title itself. Just do a very quick exercise, go to the Google Scholar and identify some systematic literature review relevant to your area and just look at whether do they have synthesis in the title or not. Everyone. You need to be very quick. Meanwhile, you are doing this exercise, I can help. I can respond to the question of Rupa.
Sir.
Yes, please.
So, you were talking about the basic steps of systematic literature review. Then you talked about the identify. When we will identify the search process, then we can add some paper manually. Like if we are identifying 478 paper, then we can add 2 paper manually. So how come is it possible to manually? I didn't get it. Manual adding.
486 paper of 475 papers I was able to extract from the indexing platform or from any other platform.
Yeah.
In this situation, when I know there are 2 other papers or 2 other theses which has been awarded under my guidance, or there are 2 other papers which are important to this study but not indexed. Let me give you one example over there. Last year, we were writing a paper on rural tourism.
Yeah.
When we make a search on Google Scholar, the most cited, most popular paper was written by Bernard Lane. Rural tourism, Bernard Lane. I believe you also belongs to the tourism area.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Right. So most popular paper was from this written by Bernard Lane. When we have entered into the Scopus or Web of Science, we were able to find there was no paper from Bernard Lane has been published there on the Scopus. The challenge was Bernard Lane has published this paper into a conference proceeding, and this was not Scopus indexed. I being the expert of that area, I being somebody who understands that area, knows the paper, or the Bernard Lane's paper is very important because he is the one who has written the first paper on this, and there is no paper which has not cited the paper of Bernard Lane, though it was a conference paper. And that is why I thought adding Bernard Lane's paper manually to this chunk, manually to this bucket is really important.
Okay, so we can add manually also if that is not cited by the indexing agency, right?
No, I'm not saying citing. If citation is not your criteria, otherwise this will be excluded in later phase.
Okay, got it, sir. Right. And yes, sir. And sir, you are talking about that this SLR can be the qualitative and quantitative as well. So we no need to follow any specific methodology. Since we are doing this literature review, how come it can be quantitative?
I'll show you some of the examples of quantitative. Don't worry. Okay, Rachna is having a question.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So you said we need to start an LSR paper with a research question or a research proposition. Sometimes we don't have exact clarity about a research question. We just have a theme or let's say 2-3 variables in mind. So what should be the possible research questions for a person who is new in SLR?
That's a very good question. When I was coming out of my house, I didn't know where I have to go. Finally, I was roaming here and there, sat in a restaurant, called a friend. We were sitting together, doing a party, have drinks and dine. And by the end of the party, I decided this was my objective. To get a friend in the evening, have drinks and dine. This was my objective.
No, I got your sarcasm, but let's say it's a special call for paper and I wish to send paper. So what my intention is to, if you can tell us some basic research questions with which we can start and try to write an SLR.
I'll show you some of the papers of that. What type of research questions could have been solved using a systematic literature?
Exactly. Thank you, sir.
Or maybe some type of research question using tomorrow's session when we'll be looking at bibliometric analysis. If I find it today, I'll show it to you today. Otherwise, tomorrow for sure. If I forget it, just give me a small reminder. Don't worry, I'll do that.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Dipali ji is asking about, sir, means we cannot take conference paper for SLR. Do we need to take only journal paper? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you must be aware about where the best literature related to your area is available. One. Second, if you think that's a good paper, you need to definitely include that, but that paper must fall into your criteria. I will talk about quality assessment criteria about 5-6 slides later, and we'll discuss this a bit more details. Right. Yes. Is there anyone who have searched on Google Scholar and was able to fulfill my question, was able to respond to my question? I've given you a classwork. Is there anyone who is doing that? Okay, not an issue. I completely understand.
Anybody, please.
And I completely understand they are at home, might be involved in some different type of task or maybe assignment. I completely understand. Right. Why an SLR is needed? What are the specific purpose? Though I have made a separate list on that whiteboard, but why an SLR is needed? Is there a question?
Yes, sir, there is a question from Mr. Sujay Vikram Singh. Yes, Sujay, kindly put up your question.
Good evening, sir. Sir, I am working on a systematic literature review on film-induced tourism, and sir, I have extracted the papers. Sir, film-induced tourism. I am working on SRR on it, and sir, I have extracted the database from Scopus in Web of Science, and I am following the Prisma protocol as suggested. Sir, at present, I am having some concerns in downloading the book chapters and conference proceeding papers. Means I cannot get the full text. So, sir, is it necessary to keep them both, or I can just take the journal articles
No,
because they are more accessible?
Necessary. You can have this into your exclusion criteria. You can see this screening criteria or eligibility criteria. Wherever the full papers was not available. Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
2.5% are available only as full text article.
Yes, sir.
Rest were not available as full text article. That is why we have removed those. When the full text article is not available, how can I analyze that paper? How can I write a systematic literature review using that?
Sure, sir.
Right? It is not always necessary.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
So what are the specific objectives? Why do we need SLR? To establish connection or establish a relationship between existing knowledge and the problem to be solved is important. To refine the problem. When a research scholar starts a problem, start working on a very specific problem. Say, for example, as I have started identifying my guide, I simply visit. Those were the days when entrance examination, coursework, and these were not the things. So somebody has told me, if you want to remain into the academics, you have to do PhD. So I said, what I have to do into a PhD? He suggested you have to write a book. When I started my journey of PhD, I even did not knew that I have to write a thesis, which should be research-based article, research-based thesis. What I knew is this is a book. So I visited a PhD supervisor. He said, in which area you want to work? I said, sir, marketing. He said, what is your expertise? Which subject you love most in the marketing? I said, sir, services marketing. Well, in which topic you wanted to do your PhD? He said, I don't know. Just give me a topic. There, after even 5-6 multiple meetings, he helped me in understanding how to identify a topic. But you can do it from the very beginning. You can define your problem. This is what is a problem. Most of the scholars are missing this, and I'm trying to resolve this problem. The significance, the importance of your research. Define your own research questions of your own thesis or different type of problems. To address the unanswered questions without performing a new trial or new experiment or without knowing anything about that. Efficient and ethical use of resources. You are not doing a new experiment. Good number of institutes nowadays are asking for ethical format. If you are collecting data from using a primary questionnaire, using a primary survey, you have to fill an ethical awareness, ethical form of level 2. If you are collecting the data from kids or any vulnerable section, you have to fill the form of ethical level 3. Otherwise, you are trying to interview some mentally challenging people or acid attack victims or any other type of victims, you have to fill a ethical concern form of level 4. But for conducting a bibliometric analysis, you need to fill ethical awareness for ethical concern form of level 1, which says I'm collecting the data from secondary sources. I'm not contacting any individual. That is why no ethical concern form need to be filled. So this is another reason you need not to visit here and there into the market and by collecting data and all this means. Everything is available on your system. Just do the best utilization, do the optimum utilization of the resources, and you will be able to do that. And refine large amount of information. What makes a good SLR? Add useful information, Always register your SLR with Prosperos. Medical sciences, for medical sciences, Prospero is the must. If you are starting SLR, you must register your Prospero about 18 months before. If you are not doing that, you won't be able to publish that SLR. For social sciences, there is no limitation. You must have a clear search strategy, how to search on Google or other type of platforms. Quality of evidences is important. The type of papers which you are using, their quality must be good. Follow the reporting guidelines. The very popular reporting guidelines are Pico or Prisma. Sorry. Good number of you who have not heard about Prisma and Pico might be thinking what this Pico and Prisma is. Right? I will respond this question without even asking. And put your research into the action. Do not write who has defined what is the objective of doing research, what was the method, why these methods have been used. Everything, do not use that. So how to conduct an SLR? Formulate a review research question, RQ. Planning stage. What is the research question? Like a few minutes before, one of the experts in the same workshop was asking, I'm not aware about the research question. Maybe first question is, I wanted to understand how job satisfaction is connected with the other variables. One of the question, what are the antecedents of job satisfaction? What are the consequences of job satisfaction? What are the variables used as a moderator with the job satisfaction? What are the variables used as a mediator when they were investigating customer loyalty and service quality? These are the different type of questions. Develop a review protocol. I will be searching paper based on these things. I will be searching paper based on these criteria. My protocol is this. You might be thinking, what is a protocol? Prisma and Pico are simply protocol. A kind of protocol is the framework. Protocol is, I'll be searching papers using internal marketing into the title. Then if my study is based on hotel, that should be somewhere available into the abstract. And I want these studies should have been conducted in India. That should be available anywhere into the paper. This is called as protocol. So you have to define, you have to decide what is the protocol which you are planning to use for the further analysis. Search the relevant literature. This is the second phase, which is called as conducting. Search the relevant literature, perform selection of primary studies, perform data extraction, assess studies quality, and conducting synthesis of evidence. This step I will explain in detail, so you need not to worry about it. And the third one is write SLR report using any other framework, whatever we have heard of, Prisma, Pico, Spider. There are different type of platforms. There are different type of framework which we will be using today. These are the different tools which you can use for writing SLR. Is there anyone who have used any of these tools? Just let me know. Are you aware about any of these tools? You have to speak something. You have to give me the rest.
The participants are knowing about the Mendeley. Basically, they have used the Mendeley, most of them.
Yes, that's the most popular software used for citation and referencing, could have been used for SLR. Docker is a completely free and open source academic literature suite. Make a note, if you are trying to make good mind maps to understand your literature, how the studies have been conducted with the different references, with the different set of ideas, Docker is the best platform and completely free as well. They won't ask you for money. So if you can start trying your hands on Docker. The second one is it starts from the labs. The challenge is this is a very old software now. When we are using Windows 98 or Windows XP or these type of operating systems, so even at Windows 11 you won't be able to install it. But if you are using any Windows before Windows 10, you will be able to start it. And is a really beautiful. Does not have a beautiful interface, but have hands-on some very real importance to understand different ways and means how you can interpret your systematic literature. Synthesis is a paid platform. You have to pay money for Synthesis, but trust me, it's really very good platform. And Scholar C is, you'll say, wow. Allow me a minute. I'll open the platform of Scholar C. Is there anyone who have heard about Scholar C? This is having both the versions. Scholar C does have both the versions, free and paid both. I'll be showing you how to use the free version. Even the payment is not very high, $72 for an year. And if you have trust on yourself that you can write at least 2 or 3 papers in a year, $72 is not a big deal. Right. Is my screen visible of Scholar C?
Yes, sir.
Everyone can see that?
Yes.
This is only one feedback?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can see that.
Yes, sir. We can see.
You need to click on Try Scholar C now. Right? Simply upload any paper, whichever paper you think is you wanted to read. So I'll go to the download section and theory of non-obsoletism is not. This is a case study. This is a review paper. Allow me. Systematic literature review. I will how to read a paper. Market innovation, a literature review on a new research direction. This is actually a 13-page research paper in 2 columns. Probably you will need 2 to 3 days to read this paper, but with the click of uploading this paper, uploading the paper on this platform, you can read this paper within 1 hour. 1 hour, in fact, is very high. I've just uploaded this paper on this, and this has generated some flashcards for me. Generate flashcards. Oh, I clicked it again. So many of you might be thinking how to read 300 papers in one go, in 1 month, or maybe in a year. Reading 300 papers in a year is really a challenge. So what could have been done? I'll just screen a little of font sizes. Is my screen clearly visible to everyone?
Yes, sir, it is.
Yes, sir.
You can see the summary of this paper in 1 line.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We received the market innovation literature, identified 6 research clusters, discussed their interrelationships, identified major shifts into the literature, and proposed a new direction for future research. The whole summary in 1 go. Key concepts hidden in this paper. So this paper has low emission vehicle, complexity theory, web of science, dynamics, and new market. Probably author of this paper have extracted the data from web of science. The abstract of this paper obviously is available to anyone. You can read it from anywhere, but you'll see this has some highlighted point. Future research direction are derived from the complexity theory. Comparative analysis and comparison anywhere. If this paper has a comparison in review, in bibliometric, and any other reform, you will find where is that comparison. So when in terms of review, builds on the previous research, for example, the newness may occur into form of new solution. Table 1 suggests that implicitly or explicitly, some authors focus on creation and opening up completely new market. Bibliometric mapping, they have divided the comparison, then bibliometric mapping, then timeline. Other paper have used a different level, micro level. This paper has used a macro level. Similarly, recent research in the cluster market and practices. With the different time reference, comparison is done. Now you'll find something which is called a synopsis. synopsis of this whole paper into the larger size in comparison to the abstract, but is a good way to look at this paper and very crisp and comprehensive. Then scholarly highlight some 5, 6 or maybe 7, 10 points which this platform was able to identify out of this paper, the important to read. Then scholarly summary of the whole paper, but still you will find every section has been divided into some small summaries. And up to this point, I believe in half an hour you can completely read this paper, what is hidden into this paper. You need not to go here and there. You can also export. Many of the times you'll find exporting these tables is a difficult task. So just click on these tables and download tables as an Excel. Yes, I'm able to download tables in form of Excel, and you will be able to see different sheet, table 1, table 2, table 3, table 4, table 5. In any of the reform, in any of the structure you are trying to use these tables, the different authors, the different ways, you have exported everything out of this paper. Exporting table, copying table from, I'm not suggesting to copy these tables as it is, but I'm suggesting if you're trying to copy this table for the different purpose, for the different objective, you can use these tables with a different structure, with the different ideas as well. On this click, full text is available, front matter and everything, introduction. Again, with the highlighted sections, these are the things which need to be read primarily. Study subject and analysis, from where the data has been collected, which methods this study uses, because most of you will be able to recall in some of the papers on this systematic literature review, the authors have identified which methods have been utilized, which methods have been used for collecting the data. So you can read the method section, result section, discussion section with different type of highlight. Some of the related works which are related to this paper, conclusion of this paper, future work. So this paper has given one future recommendation, whether this received any fundings, references. If this paper is having very specific limitation section, and what were the limitations to this paper, you will be able to extract everything in one go. The limitation with the free platform is you cannot export everything in one go. And the advantage of paid platform is you can export everything in one go, upload these 300 papers on one library and export these 300 papers in one go, and then you can easily do anything out of that reference, out of that perspective. So this is a very good platform. However, up to my reference, up to my utility, even a free platform is sufficient. Yes, I think someone has raised the hand. Ruchi?
Yes, sir. So my question is that is it enough to read the read the article from this scholarship? After that, we won't be we won't require to read it further from in detail.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying this, at least if you start reading a paper from the abstract to the final last page to the last section, this will take at least 2 to 3 days. But if you are uploading your paper of the scholarship, at least in 30 minutes, you will get everything about the paper. Like this will be called as, I'm not sure, like when I went to the preparation of CAT, however, I was not selected to any IIM. In Career Launcher, they have given me one secret of reading. At first instance, whenever you are reading a case study, do the skimming. Then in second instance, do the detailed or in-depth reading. So this is only first instance of skimming your research paper, what this paper is about. For writing a detailed note, you have to read it in details.
Okay, sir, one more question. That for writing a systematic literature review, how many years, minimum number of years to be covered? Like say, for example, can we include 5 to 7 years also, systematic literature review?
I have not seen any paper with the 5 to 7 year. However, I have not seen any regulation, any rule like 5 to, this is the minimum time period, this is the minimum time for which you have to write an SLR.
Okay.
If it is justifiable, I always suggest to the scholars, everything is fair in research. Likewise, all of us might have heard a very popular Hindi movie quote, Hindi Bollywood movie quote, everything is fair in love and war. I always say everything is fair in love, war, and research, provided you must have a fair justification.
Thank you, sir.
Niti has asked, sir, how many papers we can analyze using free version? Only one paper in one go, but there is no limitation. Remove one paper and you can upload the second one. I mean, is there any limit? No, there is no limit of one by one. Like when this first paper has been analyzed, you can upload second paper, then you can analyze third paper, then you can analyze fourth paper as well. Towards the last section of this Scholar C, you will get these references section. Now you can look at these. If you are having the paid platform, then you can better utilize this. Say, for example, this paper was citing a paper from Harika or from Agrawal. And once I click on this scholarship finding related to this paper, this will redirect to that paper. I need not to have access of that paper, and this will be connected to that paper, and I will get the findings of this. If I'm using the paid version of this, you will definitely get everything in one. This can redirect you to that paper. You need not to click on copy paste this article to the Google Scholar. This will redirect you directly to the Google Scholar for this paper. You can see this R. Agrawal paper, this can also redirect you. Open access if it is available. Site is again a platform for bibliometric analysis. So this is another very useful utility on the Scholarship platform. However, you can learn to use Docker. There are multiple videos available for using Docker. Mendeley, I trust most of you already knows about it. Synthesis, we have already learned. Sorry, Scholarship, we have already learned. Synthesis is the paid platform. I have not even utilized this till now. And start is slightly difficult, but if you start looking, if you start using this, you will start loving, you will start enjoying using a start, because this summarizes everything in one go. However, is not based on artificial intelligence. This does not support artificial intelligence. You have to do it manually. Uploading, connection, cross-linking, and everything, you have to do it there.
So one more, just a small question.
Yes, please.
Sir, in Scholar C, like if we are uploading a paper in that, and after that you said that we can upload in a one go at one time, we can upload one paper, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, can we download the results of that paper, what we have got from the Scholar C?
Not sure, because in the free version you cannot do that.
Okay.
And if you generate flashcard, you have to read it from here, or maybe you can copy and paste with a different format. If it is a paid version, you can directly export it into the Excel sheet.
Okay.
Export function is available only to download the tables.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So shall we proceed for break, sir?
Okay, is there a time of break?
15 minutes break,
okay.
sir.
Okay, perfect. I'll be happy to take a break. Sure. So see you after about 10
over to you, Nikita.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir, for such a knowledgeable session. Now, I would like to request all the participants to proceed for the break. We will be resuming our session again after 15 minutes on the same link.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome back, everyone. May I now request Dr. RPS Kaurav, sir, to continue with the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Nikita. So these were a few tools for writing SLR, which can help you in reducing your task, reducing a human involvement, reducing a manual involvement, manual labor, and can automate up to some extent. However, I would always suggest, do not use fully automated ways. If you are using fully automated ways, probably a researcher, specifically, you are not needed there. Then machine can do everything. Right? So do not make a habit of using machines for everything. Do some work. Or maybe Hollywood has made a few movies when the humans were fighting with the machines. Maybe after about 20, 50 years, who knows what will happen. So make some habit. of involving yourself, understanding, interpreting, and writing part, and that will help everyone. Right. So there are some reporting standards of SLR. Systematic literature review does have some reporting standard. One of them, and very popular of them, is called as PRISMA. Preferred reporting items for systematic review and meta-analysis. Systematic review and meta-analysis. If you are using any of these, PRISMA can be used there. Aims to improve the transparent reporting of systematic reviews, unbiased reporting of these many challenges. You might be thinking, what is this PRISMA we are talking since long? What is this PRISMA? Just go to the Google, type PRISMA Systematic Review, and the first website you will find is prisma-statement.org. Just click on. Now you will get a lot of things to understand. However, we are specifically interested in PRISMA statements. PRISMA 2020 statement, PRISMA checklist, PRISMA flow diagram. Just click on this PRISMA flow diagram and they will suggest you flow diagram in Word. Included searches of database and registers only, diagram with the new systematic included search database registers and other sources as well. Just click on this. This is an editable graph, editable figure, which I was able to download from here as a PRISMA report. Now you can see the identification, proper number of records have been identified from one source, from different sources, records excluded, whatever diagram you are able to see on that slide, you need not to be worried. The second statement, this was only flow diagram. Then the second statement is about, when we talk about this PRISMA statement, here are multiple documents, documentation, signing authorities who have allowed these and everything is available here, the documentary evidences. PRISMA E&E, exploration and explanation and elaboration. Again, PRISMA 2020 statement. And these are the exploration and elaborations for that. Once you click on checklist, PRISMA 2020 checklist or expanded checklist, just click on this checklist. Again, an editable Word file I was able to download. Title. Identify a report of systematic
Sorry
review.
to interrupt you in between, sir. Could you please zoom the screen?
Yes. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So this is the checklist. If you are writing a systematic literature review paper, this is a kind of PRISMA checklist. So title, identify the report as a systematic review. If you can, with the help of title only, if your paper is having SLR word or systematic literature review, whether you can identify using reading the title itself, you can write yes. Abstract, see the PRISMA 2020 for abstract checklist. Introduction, this must have rational and objective and how those should have been addressed. When we are talking about methods, eligibility criteria of document, information sources, search strategy, what is the information which should be included into the methodology section, reporting biases, certainly assessment. When you're writing results part, results section of that paper, what are the things which need to be included into the discussion part, into the other information? What are the information which is important, which plays an important and pivotal role before writing a systematic literature review paper using PRISMA framework? Everything is available in free way. You need not to pay anything. History and development, funding and all that information. If you are looking for some protocol information, why protocol, protocol guidance and systematic review registration, everything could have been done from here as well. This is called as PRISMA. PRISMA does also have some checklists, some ideas for writing in abstract. I'll have that on my drive. PRISMA 2009 checklist. Nowadays, we are having 2020 checklist. Flow diagram, abstract checklist. And everything is available on the website, on the same website. I'll just open this file. Now, what is the information which should be included into the abstract? Title is okay. Objective, the research question including components such as participant, intervention, comparators and outcomes is a part of objective into the abstract. Methods, result section, discussion section. I'm sure you must have heard the structural or the structured abstract of systematic literature review. This you can do from this section. So structural abstract checklist as well. Most of the good checklists, most of the checklists are available in free using Prisma. There are some other platforms. There are some other ways of doing this. Meta-analysis is an analysis of analysis, because we try to comprehend what is study one. In systematic literature review, there is no limitation. You can use a conceptual study, you can use an empirical study, mixed method, qualitative analysis, any type of study could have been utilized. But for writing a meta-analysis paper, you need to have empirical papers only. You need to have the papers which are having which have used statistics. It will be better if you are using the papers which are based on regression, structural equation modeling, all these type of papers. There are some statistics which cannot be used for meta-analysis because they are not directionally. This is meta-analysis framework for writing SLR. Pico, I believe we have talked about it. Population, patients and problem. Intervention. This is Pico. We have already talked about this. I'll not be talking about this. Cochrane is again very important, very popular framework. If you are into social sciences or if you're writing papers using interdisciplinary ways, Cochrane is really important. Cochrane, again, I will go on the website. You'll find Cochrane Handbook of Writing Systematic Literature Reviews available in free as well. This is a book, Cochrane Handbook of Systematic Review and Intervention. Contact for editors, how to cite handbook and all that stuff. Ebook is a free. If you are trying to download it, they'll ask you for money. It is always better to read ebooks from there. Online learning, some video content, some blog format, learning events, any type of systematic literature review, you can utilize Cochrane. Reference Cochrane guides as well. That will also be a helpful. This is a network of international collaborators. If you are looking for some international collaborators, you can post your query, you can post your question, you can post your request, and good number of times we receive some collaborators from Cochrane. I have received. I posted twice. I have posted twice, whereas I have received it only once. Cochrane used to gather and summarize best health evidences to make information into the health decision, publish systematic review, and provide support to the authors. They also offer some funding opportunities. Handbook for Systematic Review of Interventions. This is a free handbook, and this is for help of everyone. Now let us come to the very important part. You're talking about quality assessment. As I mentioned in the beginning, everything is fair in love or in research, provided you must have a defensible justification. You must have a fair justification. You must have a fair defense on that. On which basis we need to identify that defense? If you are doing a search on Scopus and you are able to identify 3,000 papers, probably using Scopus will not be the good idea. Use Web of Science. I am sure you will get somewhere about 700. This is the ratio. If you are searching data, if you are searching paper on Web of Science and you are finding only 100 papers, go on Scopus and you will find at least 700 or 800 papers on this reference. This is one way of classifying where the suitable number of papers are available. Second way of classifying, even you are having 3,000 papers and you are specifically writing paper based on a Scopus, you can say, I will be including papers which are Scopus Q1. I will not be using papers which are Scopus Q3 or Q4 or any other criteria. You might be looking at papers from Web of Science. Web of Science does have 4 categories: Science Citation Index, Social Science Citation Index, Social Science Citation Index Expanded, Emerging Science Citation Index. ABDC does also classify the number of papers based on the number, based on these A star, A, B, and C. A star is the best paper. C is the least quality paper. I'm not saying they are bad papers. They are bad categories, but they are least quality papers. ABS is CABS. Actually, this I should write it. CABS, Chartered Accountants, American Business School. AJG, American Journal of Guide. Sorry, Academic Journal of Guide. They have the papers based on classification of databases based on 4-3-2-1. 1 is of least quality paper, 4 is of best quality paper, best quality journals. You can say you will be using only conference paper, or you will be using a mix of these papers. You can say if you are able to identify more than 5,000, 7,000 paper, you will say I will be using papers which are having papers from the journals which are having impact factor less than or greater than 1, or maybe H index on Google Scholar greater than 1. If you're writing, I've already discussed this. If you're writing a paper based on meta-analysis, you need empirical paper. If it is in SLR, any type of paper could have been included. You can also classify the papers based on country, continent, geographical areas. Say, for example, I'll be using the paper, I'll be considering the papers which has been published into the Asian context. I'll be publishing the paper which has been published onto the Indian context, or I'll be publishing the paper based on one specific country, based on the continent, based on any other criteria you think of. You can use any one of them, you can use a mix of them. But the ultimate objective is funneling these paper. Your paper must go down in terms of number. If your paper are not going down, using these filtrations, using this quality assessment will be the wastage of time itself. Right? Is there any question? I think there must be some questions on this slide. No question?
Right now, there is no question.
Okay. I thought there will be some questions on this based on the different academic quality concern. I always suggest a scholar, Scopus and Web of Science are universal, are adopted everywhere throughout the world. Papers which has been published in Scopus are by default part of UGC care list. Papers which has been published in Web of Science, except Emerging Science Citation Index, are by default part of UGC care. Try to publish these papers here. Try to publish your papers here. ABDC has got a universal reputation, but if you are having a chance, or only if you are thinking to later on shifting yourself to the Australian continent, then ABDC is preferential. Otherwise, in American continent or European continent, you won't find ABDC is much useful. ABS likewise, ABS is much popular on American continent. ABDC is much popular on Australian continent. They are continent specific, geography specific, but Scopus and Web of Science is acceptable everywhere. So try to publish your paper on Scopus or Web of Science, these three categories, that will help everyone.
So Ms. Ruchi Kalia has raised her hand.
Please ask your question.
Sir, could you please explain these indexation, SCI, SSCI, and what are these? And apart from that, what are the Scopus Q1, Q2, Q3?
Okay. Scopus, say for example, is having 40,000 journals based on number of citations, based on paper published every year, based on citable documents every year. Scopus classify them in 4 different quadrants. Sorry, not 5, 4 different quadrants. So this is quartile 1 to quartile 4. Quartile 1 is the best quality journal. Quartile 4 is the least quality journal. Whenever you are thinking of understanding how to identify, how to look at these best quality and least quality, you might not be having the access of Scopus. My second screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
For And looking at the list of journals from Scopus, you need not to have any account. Most of you thinks for having a list of Scopus, for having looking at the journal list of journals at Scopus, we need to have a paid access. I'm sorry, no. Simply go to the scopus.com, click on sources, and you will get that list of journals. Every list of journals is available in free. Say, for example, you are thinking of getting subject title, subject area is, say, for example, business management and marketing. I will select marketing and click on apply. You can see there are 267 journals which are listed on the Scopus in marketing domain. International Journal of Information Management is having highest site score. Therefore, it is considered the best quality journal based on the Scopus quartiles. Now you might be thinking, what is this Q1, Q2, and Q3, Q4? You can see their SNIP ranking, SJR ranking, Shimago journal ranking, source normalization index page ranking. So now I will go for this one. Can you see this SJR?
Yes, sir.
Right. So I will go for Shimago journal ranking. Right. I will just copy this first journal. International Journal of Information Management. Paste it here. This is the first journal, Journal of Information Management. And based on this, you can see the moment I start scrolling, they have identified this color combination for, so green is for Q1, yellow is for Q2, orange is for Q3, and red is for Q4. So this journal is in Q1 list since 2013. You can see anywhere you can move your mouse, you'll find Q1. Orange is for Q2, sorry, yellow is for Q2, and this orange is for Q3. In 1999, this was in Q3. And you can also move it up to down. You'll find this is a Q1 journal, which is having Shimago journal ranking, which is 4.58. Let me take another journal. I will not source title. I will sort them based on site scope. So say, for example, direct marketing is a journal which I wanted to see on Shimago journal ranking. This has appeared some other journal. Maybe direct marketing might have been removed from the database. That is why it is not indicating direct marketing. You can see all these circles are Q3, Q4. Once it was in Q2. And in fact, they have not indicated the 0 score for this journal. Okay, I'll go on the page number 4. Communication and management. Why I'm doing this, I might type the own journal, which is Journal of Content, Community and Communication. My special issue is appearing in the month of September. Journal of Content, Community and Communication is not the best quality journal, but is not also not the least quality journal, is in the Q3 list of the Shimago journal ranking. And you can also see this name of this journal. I will just copy this. Sorry, I will have to change it from subject to title. You can see this is the journal which is listed there. SJR ranking is this, site score is this, SNIP is this, and this is how this is helping. Right? Is that making sense to everyone? how to use a Scopus platform without having even a premium account?
Yes, sir.
So we have few more queries if you allow us.
Okay, please.
Mr. Gopal Krishna wants to know how can we conclude the selected papers are the best, sir?
These selected paper are the best is not your conclusion, is the conclusion is of conclusion by indexing agency. Say for example, you have identified paper Scopus Q1. They are already the best quality journals. This is not quality which has been selected, manually selected by Gopal or by Rahul. This is quality which has been worldwide accepted, not my specific criteria.
Okay, thank you, sir. And there is query by Ms. Meena Chaudhary. Can we take two selection criteria, for example, SSCI and CAPS, if we have more than 350 papers?
Yes, anytime, whenever you wish, you can select one, or you can take more than one, or maybe you can take more than two combinations as well. It's not a limitation, provided you must have why you are using that.
Thank you, sir.
There are some. Yes.
Ms. Rakhi wants to ask, can we export results from Scopus from free account?
You cannot do that. You cannot export data from a Scopus in free. But yes, for the help of researchers, at least multiple researchers claim that we don't have access of a Scopus. We cannot see whether this journal is indexed or not. That's not the challenge, at least.
And so there is a question from Ms. Madhu that how to know the impact factor of any journal, sir?
That's a very difficult question. How to know the impact factor? Clarivate Analytics, the parent company of Web of Science, every year release a list. Clarivate Analytics is the parent company of Web of Science, which releases a list every year where they suggest about the impact factor of the different journals, the impact factor of different platforms, different way. Otherwise, generally what happens, this is another list of Clarivate Analytics. Otherwise, say for example, in the morning, I was seeing a journal, Business and Society, journal published by Sage, or maybe any other platform published by Imral, Springer. Everyone wants to promote their popularity, promote their everyways. Most of the journals which are having impact factor will promote their impact factor here on the front. The journals which are not having impact factor will not promote here. They'll give it some here and there because they wanted to hide that information.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And I would request Ms. Ruchi Kalia, Rupa Sinha, Ranali, and Rachna Bansal to kindly put up your queries in the chat box. We'll be taking up after at the end of the session.
Sure. So this is criteria how we need to look at. What can be done after SLR? This is really important, and this is the ultimate objective of SLR. Based on your paper of SLR, okay, before moving in, what can be done after SLR? I wanted to show you an Excel sheet which is been designed by me for the help of every researcher, because most of the time we are into the problem. How do we find these things? How do we put in ourselves into this challenge? So you have to read one paper in one go, identify and extract this information in one go. Allow me one, let me complete this Excel sheet. Let me explain this Excel sheet, then I'll take questions which are related to this Excel sheet. If you are using meta-analysis with a specific reference, you will have to identify their R square value and all that value. If it is not meta-analysis, do not go into the R square and all that reference. So say for example, this is paper 1, which is written by Kaurav in 22. The name of journal is Vision. In ABDC category, this is a C paper, C category journal. Title is ABC 2XYZ. Authors in APA format, in APA style, in APA syntax. So maybe if this paper is having more than some other titles, you can do that. Or maybe here you can list only year. Later on, you can suggest Kaurav, Singh, Chaudhary. These were the 4-5 authors. Keywords which this paper has used generally is available along with the abstract. So this paper was about internal marketing and X and Y and Z. Nature of paper, if you can recall in one of the paper, in one of the literature review paper I have suggested you, there was a graph, the type of paper. So this paper is empirical, conceptual, methodological, or viewpoint. You can type that classification here. This is a methodological paper. Then research objectives of this paper. In nutshell, every detail need not to be included as mentioned by the scholar. Problems crystallization, whether the problem is very much crystal clear or not, and if it is not, or what is the challenge. So problem crystallization refers to the type of study. I have made these short notes for your reference. Type of the study, either formalized or exploratory. With formalized study, well-defined structure in a place that has predefined hypothesis and all that stuff. You can do that. Statistical study, which statistical method have been used. Cross-sectional or longitudinal study, if this is a study at one go, is investigating different age groups, is investigating different groups, then it is cross-sectional. If one study is investigating a group of 1984 and then 1994 and then 2004, is called as longitudinal study. Data collection method was a survey or case study. List of dependent variables, independent variables, mediator, and moderator as well. Any other variables with any other reference, gaps specific, hypothesis, if it is using. Hypothesis is especially required if you are using a meta-analysis paper. If you are not using meta-analysis paper, you need not to mention hypothesis. Significant or not, which type of scales have been used, Likert scale, ratio scale, nominal scale, sources of scale, is an adopted scale, self-made scale, tailored scale, which type of questionnaire, have they used a questionnaire, questionnaire was provided with the paper or not, sample element, population, sample size, response rate, final respondents, sample design, whether it's a probability sampling, non-probability, which type of sampling it has been used, data collected, data analysis, qualitative or quantitative, ethnography, under qualitative ethnography, thematic, phenomenology, semiotic, under quantitative regression, modeling, any other one, thematic analysis, tools for data analysis, analytical techniques, type of study, focus of country, in which country, in which settings this study have been done, number of countries, if there is more than one countries which has been used, type of market, is that emerging economy or developed economy, type of country again. Here it is developed, newly industrial, developed, societal, capitalistic. And when I say type of market, this is consumer, industrial, service, B2B, B2C, which type of market has been evaluated. Unit of analysis, whereas a strategic alliance, joint venture, which type of companies have been analyzed. If it is a strategic marketing paper, strategic management paper, if it is not a strategic, then it is not needed. Findings, contributions, social implications and all that, future research directions, limitations, conclusion, key takeaways, and your comments. Once you complete this table, I completely understand doing this table for about 50 paper will take your hell of like efforts, hell of like time. But once this table is complete, you need not to visit these papers again and again. All these information is available on your fingertips. All these information is available on your fingertips. Once these tables are available, do you know how to compile these information? Probably when they say the type of case studies, the type of information available is empirical, conceptual, just make a filter. These many number of studies are empirical, conceptual, or methodological. You can create pie charts, you can create different type of charts, which type of studies were available to this. And that is why I've identified, I've separated earlier this author and year was different, but now the were into the same column, but now author and year are into the different column, so that in which year the number of papers which has been selected for this study, the authors likewise, if you can recall, we have seen one paper. Yes. They have produced number of different type of studies, and who were the authors in that type of studies. They have identified that as well. So this way you can utilize this Excel sheet once the Excel sheet is complete. And I completely understand this Excel sheet will take hell like of efforts. But I still believe this is still better if you are going to the market, collecting the data, and then you are dealing with you have received the not normally distributed data and you are still struggling. You should apply parametric or non-parametric and all that stuff. So as a research scholar, the first paper should be based on SLR. You might be a senior scholar, you might be a senior researcher, but if you are starting something to the new area, to the new idea, to the new data, to the new thought, you must write an SLR on your thought. This will prove your expertise on that particular area. Yes, somebody was having a question on this Excel sheet. Someone has raised hand and.
So Ms. Rupa Sinha and Ms. Rakhi. So I would request Ms. Rupa Sinha to put your query first.
Hello?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes,
sir. So for this Excel sheets, after like filling up this Excel sheets, we have to do like manually. Like last day we heard about the VOSBIOR software. So like to extract table, VOSBIOR can be used, right?
Today we are not doing bibliometric analysis. We are doing systematic literature review. VOSBIOR can be used for bibliometric analysis. If you are especially interested in SLR, this information need to be extracted manually. Why I am saying this, why I am recommending manually, the reason is very specific. You will read these papers and you did not to go back to these papers multiple times. That's a very specific objective behind this.
But how to extract the table? Like after doing manually, we can convert in chart likewise, right? Like the some of the papers you have already shown up that they have extracted some table based on methodology, based on authors, based on the which case study method or regression analysis they have done, like how they have identified, how they have extracted these kind of tables.
Allow me a minute. I'll just open another Excel sheet where I have done an SLR.
Sure, sir.
Not able to relocate that folder. Where is that folder? Here is it. So this is one of the Excel sheet which we have filled for, say for example, you are looking for this specific column, survey and all this information. Correct?
Yes, sir.
One and the easiest way is copy this column to a new sheet. And now you can write a formula of count, how many types survey or experiment has been written, and you can do that. This is one and easiest way. Second way, you can convert this table into the pivot table. Field names are not valid. Okay, we cannot convert this table into the pivot table, but we can convert definitely this table as pivot table. Let me. Yes, and put the survey or experiment to the columns, or maybe to the rows.
I would request Rupa Sinha to kindly mute yourself because there is some background noise from your side.
Again, I have entered only one after every entry. Go to this. Oh, this is number of papers. This has selected the whole table. Survey or experiment will put into the rows, and the number of paper will put into the columns. 1 is the grand total. Probably I'll have to summarize that data, and probably we will be able to summarize the data into the easier way for that reference. Sorry, not on the columns. I did that mistake. Number of papers to the values. And you can see different type of papers which has been published with the different ways. So 210 papers have used a survey. 8 papers have used an experiment. Probably review of 730 hotel was only 1 paper. Laboratory, this is a mistake which we have done. So this is how you can simply summarize your paper and then create some graphs and all that interesting.
Okay, sir, got it.
Got it? Okay, one last question from Rakhi.
Ms. Rakhi.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, clear and loud.
Yes, sir. So you have said earlier that sometimes one of the paper is not cited well and you can do it manually. Now, the same question arises. Supposedly, I have prepared an Excel with certain column and there is one export which has come from Scopus. Can I combine these two data? Is it acceptable, or
which two data? One data has been exported from Scopus and second data
is manually prepared? You know, so I did.
But why you want to combine these two data? Because it is not a bibliometric analysis paper. For bibliometric analysis paper, if you're trying to combine these data, two data will not be possible. For systematic literature review, if you are trying to combine these two data, is 100% possible.
Okay. Okay. Yes, got it. Thank you so much.
Okay. Right.
Can we take 1 or 2 questions more?
Okay. How much time do you have? I'm not running out of the time, I think.
No, sir, it's till 9 o'clock, sir.
Okay.
So, Ms. Zartaj Fatima wants to ask question. Zartaj, kindly unmute yourself, Ms. Zartaj. She has written her question in the chat box also, that which software we can use for meta-analysis, sir.
For meta-analysis, we can use Jamovi, we can use meta. Sorry?
FDP very interactive and very fruitful. Last year, I wrote a paper on impact of COVID-19 on healthcare workers. Actually, basically, I am from Hyderabad and now working in Saudi Arabia. So I choose the title this impact of COVID-19 on mental health work. I found very less number of papers. I choose only the continent Saudi Arabia, but I choose the software as meta-analysis. I followed Dr. Neeraj Kaushik videos and used the software. Now I want to ask, if again I want to write a paper on meta-analysis, which software is most user-friendly?
I can give you 2 responses. One, if you are having money, purchase CMA, Comprehensive Meta-Analysis Software, the best software of the world for the meta-analysis. This is one. Second, if you do not have money, likewise every researcher does have, I also do not have money. I use Jamovi for meta-analysis.
I am not the same.
And I also use Meta Essential Sheets, the Excel sheets for meta-analysis.
What Dr. Neeraj Kaushik is
popular, and Neeraj Kaushik sir is mentor of everyone, is guru of everyone.
Yes.
Right.
And my paper was published in Scopus Q4 journal from, I think, from UK.
At least one has started publication in Q4 or one has started publication in any ways, in any level of journal. At least you need to start your journey. Once you start, you will definitely reach somewhere. But once you do not start, you will never reach anywhere.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Right. Okay, so this is how you can export different tables, different ways, different means. Now you can see I have made a summary of all these tables in one go. It was not at all a challenge. Even you can summarize different. I don't want to save it. I'll just close it. So you need to collect some data based on these sheets, based on these ideas. Otherwise, you will be stuck somewhere. So this is how you can use this Excel sheet after the class, after the session. I will forward this Excel sheet especially to the PowerPoint slides which are related to this class to organizing committee of this workshop, and they'll forward it to everyone. Now let me come to the very important task. What could have been done after systematic literature review. One is hypothesis development. I will specifically invest about 10 minutes on hypothesis development using SLR on this. Second is content thematic analysis. Organizing a structure is a qualitative way of writing a research paper, writing a research. Next one is a bibliometric analysis. We will do it tomorrow. And the next one is meta-analysis. Is a very specified, very advanced method of writing literature review, which is based on hypothesis development without collecting data from the primary sources. What are the different types of review article is a challenge nowadays. One is framework-based review. You have decided to identify the TMCC framework of a paper, theory, method, construct, and context. Say, for example, I'm writing an SLR for internal marketing. So what are the theories which most of the researcher have investigated will help me in resolving two queries. One, the most utilized theory and the least used theory. The most utilized theory will give me another dimension. What are the different contexts where this most utilized theory is not utilized, and this least utilized theory give me some future research direction. This is another direction. This is the direction where a future researcher need to write papers on internal marketing using these theories, which have got the least attention from the different researcher. Chances of acceptance of these papers will be slightly higher. Which methods have been used into the papers of internal marketing? I would again suggest most used methods and least used methods. Most used methods will give me the limitation and the different context. Least used method will give me the ideas. These are the areas where you can write your research, and the chances of accepting these papers will be slightly higher. Constructs, the variables, context, the environment, the settings. This could be emerging countries or developed countries or developing countries, or this could be consumer market, B2B market, B2C market, C2C market. Any type of context could have been utilized here. Next type of framework is ADO. These two are very much popular. However, there are a good number of platforms available, good number of frameworks available. More than 20 frameworks are there. Social sciences generally use TMCC and ADO. And then TCCM is simply restructuring of TMCC, nothing more than that. So this is framework-based review you can write for your references. I'll show you one of the paper using framework structure. Then second one is theme-based systematic literature review. You have gone to a specific theme, and this literature review, say for example, in the beginning of the session, I have given you one example: consumer experience in tourism, hospitality, and event industry is a theme-based literature review. Consumer experience using artificial intelligence, or review aiming to the theory or theoretical model or theoretical development, when your focus is not a variable, when your focus is not research, when your focus is theoretical model development. The fourth type of review paper is a bibliometric analysis review. You can use Washviewer, Bibliocine, Publish, or Paris, these type of softwares for that. And the next type of review is ethnography and ethnography of the published paper. NVivo, MaxQDA, these are the different tools, softwares which could have been utilized for this reference. This is another framework, Spider framework. Sorry, not a Spider. This one is REA framework. Rapid evidence assessment. Critical assess tool, CAT framework is also available. The SPICE framework, setting, perspective, intervention, comparison, and E stands for evaluation. SPICE framework. Spider frameworks talks about sample, phenomena of interest, design, evaluation, research type. Spider framework does also have this another abbreviation: setting goals, planning, implementing, documenting, evaluation, and readjustment. I will come back on this slide, but before that, I will spend my time, which I promised about here. I'll spend about 20 minutes how to develop hypothesis using literature review. Right, before I move into that section, how to develop hypothesis using SLR, using literature review, is there any question, any specific question? I'll be happy to take about SLR. Yes, please.
Ms. Rashna Bansal has raised her hand.
Thank you, ma'am, for allowing me. I have put my query already in chat box. The query is like we have Scopus, WS, both are acceptable databases for social science research. So if a reviewer asked any specific reason why Scopus is selected or why WS is excluded, how do we justify this?
Most of the papers which are listed in WOS are already indexed in Scopus, whereas most of the papers which are indexed in Scopus are not listed into the WOS.
So let's say if I use only Scopus, my reason would be simple that I have access to only Scopus, but I can't say this to the reviewer.
This is Scopus and this is WOS, right? The classification is generally based on the number of papers, and reviewers and editors does also understand if you are getting lesser number of papers on Web of Science, you will definitely move on to the Scopus. Scopus does have somewhere about 40,000 journals which are indexed for Scopus, whereas Web of Science does have only 23, or I'm not sure with the exact figure, but 23,000 journals which are indexed in Web of Science, right? So this is the only reason. When you find lesser content on Web of Science, you move on to the Scopus. When you find very high amount of content on the Scopus, you move on. We'll move on to the Web of Science. And there is no specific justification why you have used Web of Science, why you have not used Scopus. There is no specific judgment. There is no specific comment on this. Why there is no specific comment? Because both of them are widely acceptable, will not be a challenge. Generally, they do not have this type of question.
Right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So there is one question from Ms. Meena Chaudhary. Can we use only Scopus database for retrieving papers? And what is the word limit for SLR paper?
Can we use only Scopus database for retrieving papers? Yes, definitely you can. There is no word limit of SLR papers. However, it is a perception SLR paper tends to be more heavier in terms of length in comparison to empirical papers, because you have a lot of things to share. You download any SLR paper from Google Scholar or from any other platform, you will find generally their size is more than 25 pages. But generally the papers based on empirical evidences are having the size of less than 20 pages. This is the general phenomena. However, there is no written rule on that.
Thank you, sir.
What
is the difference between the question from Ms. Monica Yadav, that what is the difference between review article and SLR, sir?
SLRs are the advanced version of the review articles. I have intentionally left that slide. I thought I will talk about this slide towards the end, but as you have asked the question here, generally review papers are called as narrative reviews. What is the method of doing narrative reviews? We are simply doing fishing. Wherever we find some paper relevant to our theme, is no systematic way, is no scientific way. And that is why we suggest to use Scopus, to use Web of Science, because say for example, on the 14th July, Rahul is downloading a set of papers and you limit your Scopus, you wanted to download the papers based till 14th July, you will also receive the same paper. And this is the biggest challenge with the Google Scholar. This is the biggest challenge with other platform. I might be able to end up some other papers and you might be able to end up some other papers. My search will end up with some other papers and your search will end up with some other papers. And this is called as phishing. And phishing is not allowed in science, because then a replication, a reproducibility will not be possible. So what is the difference in the systematic review and narrative review? Narrative review does have the broad overview of the topic, whereas systematic review has clearly defined and well formulated clinical basic research topic of the question. For searching method, no predefined protocol, whereas search method of SLR does have a predefined protocols. We have discussed multiple times about protocols. Inclusion of a study for review, SLR are predefined selection criteria as per the author's hypothesis, whereas narrative reviews author intuition and research experience. If you are highly experienced you might be able to end up with a good amount of things, a good amount of possibilities. But if you are less experienced, you will end up with some papers which might not be useful for you. Search media is diverse search engine, whereas mainly PubMed, Medline, or Google Scholar as well. Data extraction is protocol based, framework based, whereas no protocol, no simple description of a study findings is being used for data extraction. For data synthesis, for data reporting, Prisma or some other reporting guidelines, some reporting frameworks have been used. Again, and this is the reason, again, reproducibility and replicability becomes the basic pillar of the science, whereas overall description of each study, main focusing is a study done, author selected, whatever came into my mind, whatever I liked or did not like was the part of this study. We talk about in terms of data quality, the grading by the guideline quality is multiple resources, whereas partially objective grading by the anecdotal resources, again manual resources of the researcher, will not be the sufficiently interpreting the real situation. I'm sorry. And then interpretation based on data included, and this interpretation easily biased by the author's subjective intention it will be a real challenge. Is it resolving the query? Is it resolving the query? Please post. Okay, thank you. So I will be using a book. This book is Naresh Malhotra's book. I'm on page number 861. A very popular book on marketing research by Naresh Malhotra. Most popular, whosoever is studying, whosoever is doing some marketing related research is being, it is impossible, like you are studying marketing, you are reading marketing, you are looking at marketing, expertise in marketing without looking at Philip Kotler. So this is a similar book. That book is having a case study on page number 681. My book is having that case study. Okay. Making some mistake. Yes, it is making some mistake. I'll just go through using table of contents. Here is this case study. Here is the case study. Case study 8.10. Antecedents and consequence of trust in B2C online shopping into the Indian context. Results from structural equation modeling analysis using AMOS. My screen is clearly visible and readable to everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes.
This research, by small piece of research, asking me antecedents and consequence. Antecedents, what is making trust? Consequence, what are the outcome of trust? Antecedents, what is before the trust, and consequence, what is after the trust. So if you are having trust on Rahul, what are the things, what are the personality traits, what are the characters of Rahul, features of Rahul, which is asking you to trust Rahul? And if you trust Rahul, what are the consequences? What are the consequences of trusting Rahul is the question. Generally, what we do into the literature review section or hypothesis development section of a research paper, how do we do it? We define some phenomena, we define some definition and identify some hypothesis. And most of the time we have null hypothesis, X and Y does not have any relationship. If your hypothesis is based on the statistical assumption, then only you can move on with the null hypothesis. Otherwise, if your hypotheses are based on the literature review, I always suggest, I always advise, you need to have directional hypothesis. Directional hypothesis means some positive or negative relationship of hypothesis. I will just read few chunks out of this. The major application of a structural equation, no, I'm not reading this. Specify the problem and the conceptual model. And look at this section. During personal interaction with several consumers, it is felt that protecting one's personal information through an online website transaction, confidentiality, integrity, and authentication of the website information and reputation of website are some of the important issues which develop trust in online shopping. Okay? Several past studies such as Chen and Burns and Caleb's and Kafuria's, Kofaris and Hampton and Sosa provided empirical evidence on various important factors like privacy, security, and vendor reputation that build online trust. Therefore, we hypothesize. Now, please understand the logic behind hypothesis. Therefore, we hypothesize higher perception of privacy in the website results in higher level of customer trust. Higher perception of security and higher perception of repute of the online website. Now, this is the basis. My idea, my hunch, my thirst is not the basis of hypothesis. Now, if you can go and read these papers, Chen and Barnes and Caleb's and Koffers and Homsen, you'll find these variables are hidden in these papers, or maybe some papers after after that even. But that will help you. This systematic literature review or this review is helping you in framing your hypothesis for empirical evidences, for testing your hypothesis, for testing your assumption with the empirical way. What we generally perform, how do we generally do it? We could have defined the antecedents of trust, and these are the hypotheses. Then, during in-personal interaction of the customers who are involved into the frequent online shopping, it is felt that customers' willingness to buy from an online store shall increase if seller is able to evoke the customer's trust. Dash and Saji and all this, and higher perception of customer trust result into the higher purchase intention into the online shopping. Likewise, Malhotra sir has given these definition and all these, and finally, he has developed a model. Perceived security, perceived privacy, perceived vendor reputation, increase the trust, and this, if the trust is increased, your purchase intention is the outcome. Generally, how do we make models? We find the models from the other studies, we follow those models and try to satisfy those models with the help of a questionnaire, whereas which should not be the actual reality. You must have performed this analysis, you must have performed this review, justified that hypothesis, perform a directional hypothesis, do these tests using MOS or PLSM or whatever genre, whatever method you find is most suitable for your paper, for your ideas. Then you can go with the further steps. Otherwise, most of us believe literature review is okay, but how to convert your literature review into the empirical evidences? This is the best way of using literature review using the empirical evidences. However, this was not the part of today's discussion. This was not the part of today's agenda, but still I thought to cover at least a few points. Still I thought to cover at least so that all of us, and this is a kind of awareness which I'm trying to make to all the research scholars. Do not try to satisfy your hunches using the empirical evidences. And this is the evidence. In last 3 or 4 months, I'm able to observe this thing. In capacity of my editorial positions, in capacity of my reviewer position, most of the papers which are written in India are very, very good, extremely good into the methodological perspective, because we attend a lot of workshops, lot of FDPs. Those workshops and FDPs helps you in understanding methodology like this SLR. Maybe you might be attending some workshops or some FDPs on PLSM and all this. We are very strong on the methodological aspect. But the most weak part from the Indian papers, from the papers which have been written by the Indian scholar, is theoretical, is the review perspective of that paper. Is the most weak section as per my opinion. Whatever number of papers I have reviewed or I have edited in my editorial capacities is the limitation, is the challenge. So that was one. Any question on this section? Otherwise, I'll move on to the next section.
So we have 2 questions. One is from Ms. Rupa Sinha, that Prisma is only for checklist, or like what are the points we need to consider for SLR?
Prisma is a reporting framework. These are the things which we need to include, which are necessary to report into an SLR. So it is a checklist plus a reporting framework, both.
Thank you, sir. Another question is from Mr. Sujay Vikram Singh. What are main considerations while formulation of research question in SLR, sir?
What are the main considerations while
Formulation of
research
research
question in
in
SLR?
SLR.
So there are two approaches I discussed. You are having research question first, then doing SLR. So before moving out from your house, you know which friend to meet. Or you have met a friend suddenly and you are trying to make a research question. In both the cases, your concerns will change. One, if you are before coming out of your house, you know which friend to meet, where to go for the party, what is the agenda of this party. Your research question will be where I can meet my friend for the party, where the students are not available. Otherwise, in most of the places, in most of the conditions, you will find students in more quantity in comparison to faculty members, and sometimes we find awkward situation even. My second question is, I'm trying to meet this friend with this specific agenda. Otherwise, if you are into the second situation, you have suddenly meet to a friend and now you are trying to fix your agenda. Now you are trying to fix your research question is completely altogether different ways. If that friend is academic, you might fix an agenda. Can we write a paper together? And if that friend is not into the academics, can you help me in placing my students in your organization? These are the two basic agenda. These are the two basic things. So I always recommend always have research question first, then try to start research. If you do not have research question first, you will be misleading.
Thank you, sir. And another question is from Ms. Meena Chaudhary. How can we decide upon the keywords for retrieving data from the database? Can we use theory or definition given in the seminal paper for keywords, or do we need to give justification for keywords?
Meena ji, please do not mind. I will respond on this question in tomorrow's session because tomorrow we'll be doing it very specifically about keywords analysis and all that. So if I forget this, just give me a reminder. I will surely help you on this question during the tomorrow session.
Thank you, sir. And sir, there is a question from Ms. Rupa Sinha that for the conceptual model, if we are not using a MOS, can't be done using paintbrush to develop the model.
That's your wish, where you wanted to develop this. If you are having a designer friend who uses PageMaker or Adobe Photoshop or all that, you can use those softwares as well.
Thank you, sir.
I will also I will respond on your query as well on tomorrow.
Thank you.
This is also again keyword analysis.
Yes.
And okay, so let me move on to the next part, the last part of today's session. Most of us find a situation of dilemma. We are writing a systematic literature review, but we are not able to understand which section could be connected to which section. Is always a challenge. So your topic of the research must have been connected with the perspective and implication towards the end of the paper. Your problem statement, which has been written into the introduction section, must have been responded to the conclusion section of the paper. So whatever research questions you have identified into the first part, you must need to respond those questions to the conclusion sections. Otherwise, this is a very similar situation. I'm asking question from myself and I'm responding a wrong answer. That will be worst to the worst situation. If a teacher is asking a question and I'm responding wrong, that's okay, completely okay. Anyone can do that. But if I'm framing a question for myself and responding incorrectly, that's a sin. Form a problem statement and must handle that problem statement, that research question to the conclusion section. If you have identified some theoretical problems, some theoretical dilemmas, must address those theories into the discussion part, and methods must have been addressed to the results section. This is very, very imperative, important, critical and crucial even to write a systematic literature review, to write a review-based paper, to write a paper where you are trying to satisfy the hunch, where you are trying to satisfy the thirst of the knowledge to everyone who is available to this research ecosystem. Right? So that was it from my side. Any specific questions, or maybe we can take few more questions. We are having still 10-15 minutes. These were the things which I was thinking to discuss from the beginning. If you do not have any question, I'll show you some of the papers. Okay.
I hope there is no question, sir. You can show the paper, sir.
Yes. So this is one of the paper, a review of research on outward foreign direct investment and emerging countries, including China. What do we know? How do we know? And where should we be heading? So this is a paper, again, systematic literature review. I'll increase the font size. A review of research on outward foreign direct investment and all that stuff. Just look at these, what they have done into the review paper. Can you see that antecedent, FDI decision and outcome, antecedents and consequence? Now, how this table could have been made? If you have filled your data into this Excel sheet, there are 3 specific sections. Dependent variable, independent variable, mediator and moderator, and you can make your own model using this. If you are looking at this chart specifically, using these 3 columns, you can make your own. If you can recall, I was discussing antecedent, decision and outcome. Antecedents, decisions and outcomes. This is one framework. Country-wise analysis is okay, anytime could have been done. Okay, I cannot rotate here. Notable papers on OFD, the notable and the important papers, type of articles, which method they were using, and their major finding and major contribution. If you have filled that Excel sheet, making this table will be a difficult task. What do you say? If you have filled that table into the Excel, making this table will be a difficult task or easier task?
It would be easier, sir.
Right.
It would be easier.
And then antecedent decision, okay. Type of tables, the type of framework. I want to show you one of the paper where they have made a specific model. Not this one, probably this one will help. You can see this, which methods paper have used. You can see a specific table on dependent variable, independent variable, controlling variable, mediator or moderator. You can use your own model. Now the next table is about author important papers and their findings. Which methods the important papers onto a specific section, recent article and their findings. There is one more table, context, no? This paper is having that model. Video has been done. Taxonomy of research gap we'll discuss in the tomorrow's session. These type of impressive graphs, impressive diagrams can also be made using this is one table which is not much impressive, but yes, the type of paper with a different specific section. First contribution, sixth contribution, different type of quadrants they have made based on this. Different factors, different questions which they have asked from the different ways. Bibliometric analysis of FT50. No, this is a different one. tomorrow I'll show you that, share you that paper about how different type of models could have been used using systematic literature. However, this paper has already got some models, not this one, this one. This is another type of model, niche market. What is the definition? Entrepreneurial characteristics, intrapreneurial characteristics, supply chain, future directions. Everything is very pinpoint in systematic literature. So this way, systematic literature review can help a young research scholar to satisfy different type of hunches. Once you have written a paper based on systematic literature review, any author who has written a similar paper, I'm sure you'll be able to understand now nothing is left out of your knowledge point of view. But the important thing is this Excel sheet. If you are filling this Excel sheet very honestly, you will be able to extract the data even very clearly. The challenge is, I believe most of us have been taught a very popular quote, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. If you do not fill this Excel sheet properly, you won't be able to extract your data properly. And then you will say that Rahul sir has given us a wrong format, which is not the truth. The truth is because you have not filled the data correctly. Correct? So that's it from my side. We still can handle a few questions.
Yes, Ms. Ruchi Kalia has raised a hand. Yes, Ruchi Kalia.
Sir, one last question, sir. Could you please show me the indexation of the Web of Science, like you showed us for the Scopus?
Tomorrow I'll show you that indexing of Web of Science. Right now I do not have access. I will request my librarian tomorrow, and tomorrow I'll be showing you that.
Sure, sir.
I'll be showing you tomorrow how to export data from Scopus and Web of Science.
So Ms. Rupasana has also one query. Kindly put up your question.
Yes, sir. So, like after today's session, like it was really a wonderful session indeed. So I never worked in SLR or bibliometric analysis, but I wish to do. As far as my understanding, that first we need to check the checklist from Prisma or reporting framework. Then from the scholarship, we can review the papers one by one. And we have to fill up the Excel sheets you have prepared. Then we have to create the table or create model. We can use either Amos or pivot table. We can convert.
Amos can be used for SLR paper. Amos is, I was showing you how you can use SLR paper for drafting your hypothesis for empirical papers. So Amos is a completely altogether different genre.
CFA or these things we can use. PLSM. Yeah. So for SLR, which model will be preferable? What are the analytical techniques or methods we can use for this SLR?
Creating these pie charts, creating these charts, different country-wise production, different. These are the things which you can perform in SLR. Otherwise, there is no specific statistical formula for SLR.
Okay, it's completely manually. We have to develop. We have to do. Yes. Okay, sir.
Easiest way, but yes, you must be good in comprehension. If you're not good in comprehension, probably you will be stucking yourself into the SLR. Do not enter there.
Okay, sir. Got it. Got it. Thank you, sir. Thank
you. Sir, there is one more query from Miss Asma Banu. I would request Asma Banu to put up your query.
I will share all these material to the organizing team, except that book of Naresh Malhotraji, because that is not in my purview. These papers are available even on free domain. This book of Naresh Malhotraji is also available on free domain, like PDF Drive or PDF Drive Net or other ways. Different platforms are available. The book version which I am having is an official access. So I'll be really sorry to say I'll not be able to share that book.
Yes, Miss Asma Banu.
Asma, Ruchi, anyone?
Are we audible, Asma Banu? I think Ms. Ruchi Kalia, you please put up your query.
Ma'am, no more questions from my side. Thank you.
Okay. So I hope all the questions have been answered by you, so very patiently and very humbly.
Okay.
So over to you, Nikita.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, Dr. RPS Kaurav, sir. Now, I would like to request Dr. Dimpi Sachar, ma'am, to extend the vote of thanks for the day. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Nikita.
Do we have vote of thanks every day?
This is this is one of the formality and a protocol, so we
We
have
have
to do.
about 3 days. Vote of
So
thanks
all the 3 days, I'll be proposing a vote of thanks to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good evening,
And
everyone.
we are
I,
just getting the response in the chat box that the excellent session and the best session. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
So, good evening, everyone. I would like to take this opportunity to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks on the third day of our FDP program. I, Dr. Dimpi Sachar, on behalf of BCIPS, would like to thank our esteemed dignitary, Dr. RPS Kaurav, sir, our respected director, madam, valued participants, organizing committee members, faculty, staff, and students. I extend my sincere thanks to our esteemed dignitary, Dr. RPS Kaurav, sir, Associate Professor, Fortune Institute of International Business, who has taken out some time from his busy schedule and accepted our invite for being the resource person of the day. We are honored to have you with us, sir. Sir has brilliantly explained the concept of systematic literature review. We are actually overwhelmed with the kind of knowledge provided by you, sir. Thank you, sir, for blessing the event by your presence. I would also like to thank our participants across the nation for being such an interactive and cooperative audience. Thank you all. I would also thank our organizing committee members, faculty, staff, and especially student organizers and coordinators for their enormous support in conducting this session successfully. Thank you very much to all. Over to you, Nikita.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
everyone.
much, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us your valuable time and for being with us and enlightening our audience with your knowledge. I would like to thank our participants for their active participation for today's session. Before winding up, I would request you all to kindly fill the feedback form for today's session. I would like to thank the eminent resource person, Dr. RPS Kaurav, sir, for delivering such a wonderful session and also to the participants for joining the session. Looking forward to meet you all tomorrow at the same time, that is 6 p.m. on the same link. Goodbye, everyone, and hoping to meet you all tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
sir.
Just a
Thank you,
small
everyone.
line for Asma. We could not hear your voice. Maybe tomorrow your question will be the first question.
Yeah, might be some
Yes.
network issues from their side, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Take
Thank you,
care. See
sir.
you tomorrow.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir.
We request all the participants to leave the session.